Hi everybody, my name's Hannah. Don't mind the hat and glasses, I'm just trying not to get a migraine from the lights. And I can't avoid an opportunity to just look really cool. So, I am a PhD student at James Cook University, and I am a dirty chemist. Not that kind, this kind. So I'm a soil chemist. And if you don't know what a soil chemist is, just imagine Bunnings Warehouse and Chemist Warehouse had a baby together. And I am that baby. Except I can't sell you drugs, unfortunately. I'm not that kind of chemist. I'm originally from Townsville. We moved away when I was young, and then I moved straight back as soon as I could. And I can hear some of you saying, why would you choose to come back to Townsville? But my question to you is, why wouldn't you want to live in Townsville? We're surrounded by beautiful beaches. We have year-round ice cream eating weather. And you don't have to sell a kidney to pay the rent. Now, I assume most of you here are from Brownsville, so you'll be pretty familiar with dirt, but you might not be as familiar with chemists. So you might assume that chemists are rigid and socially anxious and work in a cold and sterile environment like this, and you would be absolutely correct. But you can tell that I'm not just an ordinary chemist, I'm a soil chemist, because when I take off my lab coat, I look like a tradie. And that's because I also get out into the field, literally. This is me collecting soil from a sugarcane field. It's not really my favorite when I have to go when it's like this. I quite like it when it's like this, or if I'm not the one actually going into the field to get the samples. And that is soil in my hands, everybody, okay? Nothing weird. My favourite place to do fieldwork is Ingham up north, and that's because all the farmers in Ingham assume that I'm Italian and therefore related to them. Those of you who don't know, Ingham is Queensland's Little Italy, and I am a little Dutch. Yeah, not Italian. But the Ingham farmers are so nice to me. They are really interested in my work, and they help me with manual labour, and they're known to share their secret recipes with me. So if anyone asks you, I'm Italian, okay? Yeah. So I'm going to talk about the C word that you really shouldn't drop in polite conversation, and that is climate change. But before you all leave, it's not all going to be bad news like this, or this, or this. You know, that's just depressing and not very funny. But I'm going to talk to you about something else that's been in the news, which you might have heard of, which is called enhanced weathering. So I study this technique, which is a method of slowing down climate change using agriculture. So us soil scientists like to call it a negative emissions technology, which makes it sound very futuristic, like it involves robots or AI or something like that. And I'm about to blow your mind with the level of technological advancement that science is making. All right? So here's what I do. We take one kind of dirt, and we put it on another kind of dirt. And then, the magic of chemistry happens. Yeah. And then, carbon is sucked out of the atmosphere and stored in the ground. And when it's in the ground, it's no longer a greenhouse gas warming up the earth. And more specifically, in my experiments, I use byproducts of sugar production, which are creatively called mud and ash, and I put them on sugarcane farms. And based on the composition of those byproducts, we think that this magical chemical reaction is going to happen and carbon is going to be taken out of the air and stored in the ground. Now I know that sounds a bit crazy, and we are pretty sure that it works. Sometimes. But I will explain. So dirt is surprisingly diverse, actually. So even a few centimeters apart or at different times of the day, the soil can actually vary a lot. And one of the main ways that it can vary is with its acidity. So you can think of acidity like different types of salad dressing. So we have one type of soil that we call neutral, and these are like Nonna's special recipe. They're just like beautiful, perfect, great for plant growth and soil health. We love neutral soils. Another type of soil we call acidic. And you can think of these like Nonna's had one too many vinos and she's gone a bit heavy-handed with the balsamic vinegar. They're not the best. And then the other kind of soil we call basic. So you can imagine basic soils like my Dutch grandmother making a salad dressing. If you've never had a Dutch salad dressing before, neither have I. But I imagine it's mostly mayonnaise. Very basic. The other thing about soil is that you can't see it. And even when you dig it up, you can't see chemistry. It just looks like dirt. So this makes decision making really difficult for farmers and scientists. So what my project is looking at how different types of soil acidity affect enhanced weathering. And I've been trying to map out where the best soils are that maximize carbon storage. That way, scientists and farmers know how to maximize their productivity and their effect on the climate, and you know just how good it is for society next time you have a banana, or a mango, or a rum and coke. And before I go into this anymore, I'm going to tell you about a recent experience I had at Juliet's on the Strand. Now, my ice cream shop of choice is actually the Frosty Mango. I used to work at the Frosty Mango. They paid me in free ice cream and I was totally fine with that. But Juliet's works really well for this analogy, so I'm just going to talk about them, okay? So I was going to Juliet's on the Strand the other day to meet up with my friend, and I was driving my Toyota Hilux through the city, you know. Hang on, I don't know how that went. There we go. So I was driving my Toyota Hilux through the city, and you know, the warm winter breeze was blowing through my hair. I found a good parking spot overlooking the rock pools, and then when I walked up to Juliet's, couldn't see my friend anywhere. And I started to get this sinking feeling, and I realised she was at the other Juliet's on the Strand. Can somebody please tell me why there are two Juliet's on the same road, but the Frosty Mango, there's one of them and it's an hour out of town? It's a tragedy. Anyway, my friend, being the legend that she is, bought me an ice cream already. So I had to somehow get to the other end of the Strand before my ice cream melted. The stakes were high. So I had three options as far as I could see it. I could have walked, but that would have taken me ages. And my ice cream would have been a warm, sad mango soup by the time I got there. The other option is I could jump back in my Hilux and hoon down to the other end of the Strand, but you know, that would obviously be the safest option. But you know, I probably wouldn't find another park, so my ice cream might have melted anyway. My third option was that I could take an e-scooter. Now, I definitely look like a goose, but it would be quick, and I wouldn't have to worry about a park. You know, I could just dump it in a bush and go have my ice cream like this. And when I was thinking about this situation later, I realised it's so much like different types of soil and enhanced weathering. What a coincidence. So enhanced weathering in basic soils is kind of like me walking to the other end of the strand. So that magic carbon removing reaction happens so slowly that by the time it's finished, climate change has already happened and our ice caps have already melted. So that's a bit out of the question. Enhanced weathering in acidic soils is kind of like me driving to the other end of the strand. Our carbon removing reaction happens very fast, but not much carbon is actually stored in the soil. Most of it's just spat back up into the atmosphere, so not doing much for our ice caps either. But enhanced weathering in neutral soils is very exciting. So that carbon reaction happens really fast, and carbon is actually stored in the ground. It's magic. So to recap, enhanced weathering in neutral soils maximises carbon storage, and e-scooters are actually really cool. But before we roll out this futuristic technology all over the place, we've still got some work to do, a bit like AI. We've still got a lot of experiments to do, and I'm still working on mapping out where the best soils are. But for now, I'm going to leave you with the only map you need, and that is to the frosty mango. Thank you so much. I'm going to go back to